And so, beloved masters, the master that you are is you. And the imperative of revelation is for you to discover who that master is. It isn't nearly as important that you know what others are about or who they are, as it is for you to find out for your most amazing, wondrous self, the master that you are, the love that you are, the brilliance that you are, the creativity that you are, the important being that you are. That humanity has spent so much time attempting to prove to other people, to get their agreement. Am I a master? Oh yes, I'm such a wonderful master. But the imperative is for you to believe it when you say it. And the indoctrination has been that you should be ashamed for saying something so powerfully wonderful about yourself. And so to discover the master that you are, and the ego has a lot of trouble with this part, you get to love the ordinary. And you get to appreciate the mundane. And you get to realize that what you might have called small is some of the greatest stuff you are. The little things. The things you do every day. The ordinary becomes extraordinary when you remember who you are. Before I was a master, I chopped wood and I carried water. The ego says, now, after I become a master, I get to delegate that to everyone else because now I'm a master. No. After I became a master, I chopped wood and I carried water and I appreciated how absolutely powerfully magnificent it is to chop wood and to carry water, to feel every muscle, every element of the body involved in swinging an axe to chop wood, to make a fire, to cook the food, to warm the house, to feel the weight of the buckets, if they are carried on a stick across the shoulders or simply carried by hand. To feel that in the body and acknowledge that something so simple is elegantly masterful. It takes away the bane of servitude because the Master Jesus stooped to wash the feet of his disciples. And so, beloved masters, it is so very important that you understand being a master is not superiority. Being a master is belonging. And so, the master, the amazing, wondrous, divine, creative being that you are, is who you are. The strength of it, the beauty of it, the clarity, the divinity, and the ordinary. For a master carries a grace, an elegance, a nobility, whether they are dressed in silk and jewels, or whether they are dressed in blue jeans and a chambray shirt. Because the master, in owning in owning himself or herself, the master carries that recognition. And it isn't something that is necessarily known by the mind. In fact, when someone feels that they are a master in a sense of self-consciousness, very often they lose their demeanor. They are not so elegant because they are attempting to please other people, or to look right, or to act right, or to say the right thing. And all of the elements of mastery get lost in societal dictates of this is what it takes to be the right kind of a person. So dearly beloved, amazingly wonderful, powerful, creative masters, we acknowledge you. We salute you. We love you. We adore you. We appreciate you. We support you in every aspect of your remembering and breaking through all of the limitations that have been set in place for so very long is perhaps in these times the most courageous thing that any being can fulfill for themselves, to break through to yourself, to not make a war, to knock down a wall, but to allow yourself to step into that unknown quotient that is you, to accept what you find, and then dearly beloved masters, to give yourself permission to see everything there with new eyes, to see it differently. I've said so many times that you can actually walk by something that exists in your world for years and never see it. And then one day you energetically move into a new space, and there it is. And this is exactly where you are with the master that you are. You've lived with that mastery from the time that you chose to forget it. You have lived with that mastery for such a very long, long time. And yet it is imperative that you allow yourself to see without your physical orbs. It isn't so much just standing in front of a mirror, scrutinizing your own face or your own figure, as it is seeing the nobility of yourself, recognizing it in your beingness, feeling yourself as great, as gracious, and acknowledging when the ego says, well, that makes you better than others. That is a ploy of the ego that has kept you from truly recognizing the master that you are for so long. Because the ego always wants to turn your focus to someone else, better than they are, worse than they are. And so, discovering, acknowledging, owning, living the master that you are allows you to walk in the world in a love that is so amazing. It is so encompassing. It is so embracing. It isn't blindness that says, oh, what a magnificently pure and spotless, flawless world. No. It is a recognition that everything about the world is a contributing factor to mastery. The gross, the coarse, the flawed are contributing factors of strength and stability to the nobility and compassion and elegance for those earthy, practical, ordinary things are a strength not to be disdained or pushed away. For there have been many lines of rulers that have been so afraid of contamination to their line that they inbred to keep the line pure. And in the inbreeding, they bred for the fragile, the purity, the what they called nobility, but they bred out the strength. They bred out the fire. They bred out the valor. And soon, the line developed sickness, weakness, an inability to resist the ills of both physical and emotional assault that the world can bring, and the lines died out. Because even though the judgment was, all of the crudeness and the coarseness was bred out, so was the resistance to disease and the ability to stand strong in the face of what life on the planet can bring. And that isn't to say that a master is crude, but that coarseness, that element of physicality, is not necessarily something to disdain. It is something to be integrated, to be embraced, to be loved, as much as that element of the desire for beauty, of the wish to understand with the physical, intellectual mind clearer wisdom about spirituality. So the blending of gross physical matter with the validity of mastery allows you to live a life that is so what you have longed for lifetimes, something that you have desired so intensely, the things that you personally have dreamed of and perhaps have been told by those who believed they were better that you could never have. In fact, the beliefs that any are greater than others has spawned on the planet the fearful limitations that would tell someone your dream is impossible. What on earth would make you believe you could have such a thing? And yet, beloved masters, it is time, it is past time for you to remember clearly that whatever you can dream, whatever you can dream in this moment, and in this moment, and in this moment, and in this moment, is possible. And the mind fears that potential because the mind doesn't want to be caught lacking. The mind does not wish to fail. And the belief that if you have some great dream and you cannot bring it about quickly, to prove to the world that you were right, then the dream was a failure. It will never happen. So I will mention to you again that a great part of the master that you are is patience. The patience to stay with your dream, to be clear with the dream, but also to forgive the rigidity that the dream has to be accomplished in one particular way. Because patience can lead you into unlimited, uncharted possibilities. So you had the dream and you sat out, and perhaps you accomplished some foundational parts of that dream. But there is never an end to a goal such as that. It goes on and on. So having goals that support that primary dream so that you achieve to encourage yourself, because masters also require encouragement. But it is the part that says, not only will I encourage myself, but I will also accept that encouragement. I will allow myself to trust the encouragement that I bring to myself. The ego is cunning, and it is always coming up with reasons why things cannot be accomplished. So to live the master that you are requires that you continuously be connected. That you be connected to yourself. Being connected feels very good. And people that are beginning to seek the at-one-ment with their mastery very often will say, it felt so good to be at one with myself, and then it was gone. No. As soon as you connect with yourself, you change. So you cannot continue to connect with yourself in the way that you first connected, because you are changing, and the depth of your at-one-ment with yourself and with God is increasing. It is deepening, it is broadening, it is expanding completely. So discovering the master that you are requires that you understand how to bring new levels of understanding and awareness to yourself as you are releasing and forgiving old limiting concepts. The mind wants to get rid of old limiting concepts and then to take in the new expansive ones. And so you are being required, dearly beloved masters, to understand more in depth than ever before spiritual multitasking, where you are letting go and bringing in at the same time. Now, there's a point where the ego says, that's impossible. No. You can watch water running into a pool and a similar stream of water running out on the opposite side. And yet the pool is not necessarily diminished. It is fed, and it is sending energy on. And the truth of it is, beloved masters, when you discover more and more clearly all of the time the truth of the master that you are, what you are releasing that you would say is old energy may be just exactly what someone else now requires to receive in order to begin their process of remembering. How many on the ball are actually consciously, truly, clearly seeking to recognize, to remember the master that they are? So in your quest, you are drawing in new levels of powerful, expanded information because you're willing. And you are releasing energy and information that now is called old, but for some, it is the beginning, the freshets that will start to create the pool of their remembrance, of their becoming. And so, beloved masters, to live the master that you are is not to be self-conscious, but to be conscious of self. And the difference, self-consciousness, is worrying about what they will say. What do they see? What do they think? What is their opinion? While consciousness of self is opening the connections of you to you. You coming into yourself deeper and deeper, and realizing that deeper is not taking you into a cave or into the depths of the earth. Deeper is bringing you more vastly aware to the truth of all that you are. So deeper, as you envision it, may be walking in a beautiful meadow on a sunny day. You're not in a hole in the ground. You're not having to keep descending steps into darkness, because it's opening you up to the expansion of you living truly. Living the mastery that came with the model when you first moved into physicality. The equipment of mastery, the consciousness of mastery, the wisdom and understanding of mastery were gifted to you as you moved into physicality. All of the necessary equipment, the necessary energies, the necessary elements, the necessary consciousness and awareness were all put in place for you to live the mastery of your selfhood. And it was never snatched away because you dared to enter in to this experiment.